I've got a special one on the show tonight. Tonight we're joined by Anton Fedorenko, the co-founder of a company called Infopathy. Anton, welcome to the show.
Hi, Nick. Thank you very much for inviting.
Good to have you. What are the unusual or non-negotiables you've done today for your health and performance?
What I usually do every maybe few times an hour, I asking myself if I'm sleeping. So it's kind of keep me awake, and also it's like part of my practice, what I'm doing for like lucid dreaming.
I was going to ask, I know that's a common lucid dreaming protocol. So are you able to control your dreams?
Yeah. I'm interested in this thing is in 2008, when I just like by accident read about it in the book. Yeah, and I was really like, wow, is it really possible? Trying after, I think, 3 months of trying, I was able to like do it. And it was super amazing. Like one of the, I think, maybe even one magical thing was really like happened. It's like crazy. From time to time, it's also happening. And this technique with hands, with hands, yeah, also kind of, if you ask yourself, am I dreaming, and look at your hands during the day, it's give you a habit to do the same thing when you sleep. So I find this is very good technique. Also, you need to like rest a lot and don't drain yourself too much during the day.
Yeah, I experimented with attempting to lucid dream in 2017, and I think I wore a watch or something, and I checked to see what color it was. And the idea was that when you're dreaming, your brain can't process as much information as rapidly. So what would usually be a clear watch face during the daytime would be obscured in your dreams. You'd notice that when you're dreaming and realize it was a dream. It becomes a motor habit that you do throughout the day. But I gave up because I did it for maybe 2 weeks and didn't see any sign. But the allure is there.
Yeah, I need to try more. It's a really cool thing. I think if people would study this thing in the school, since a young age, it will be even more effective or more easy to do. Like you learn language when you're just a kid or do something else, it would be different in society.
That should be somewhere around 8 hours that we all have access to. It's currently not being used to the full extent. And if we're able to capitalize that and say, use 15, 30 minutes to solve a problem, then all of a sudden we wake up with that much more of an advantage to start the day.
Yeah, I think it's possible not for a whole 8 hours probably, because also lucid dream usually happens early to the morning when you already rested and have more of those light dreams, REM. But in general, yeah, definitely give you new opportunities. And there's people who write whole books about what you can do in the dream, even from the reading books in your dream, etc. I was kind of fascinated. I was thinking maybe it's possible that your dream and reality kind of connected. So in my dream, I would leave a note, like everything looked like my room. So I'll write a note and wake up and see if I really like made a note. It didn't happen. So it's kind of maybe parallel reality. But yeah, it's kind of crazy. Sometimes it's actually also scary, and that's why I kind of stopped doing it from time to time, because it's sometimes it feels like you cannot wake up. It's so kind of suck you in. It feels like something hold you inside. I don't know how to explain it, but it makes you really makes me scared. So then I would like stop doing any practice for a long time, and then I get excited again and do it again.
Yeah. Well, we could talk about lucid dreaming for quite a while, and it's a very fascinating topic, but I think what you're working on is even better, more novel, and I doubt anyone really has heard of it. So can you walk me through your background and what it is that you're working on?
I got involved in general in this area about 10 years ago when I was a student in Moscow Institute of Physics and Technology. I was at the Department of Biophysics and Ecology. So I was just doing some research with the things called lichens. They grow on the plants, and you can use them as a bioindicator whether your air is polluted or not polluted. So we collect samples and do some spectral analysis of their compounds inside, and try to build some methods that you can take the object, put it in the, let's say, black box, and they will tell you air is good or not good in that area. And at the same time, there was this professor in our department, like very smart, a cool guy. Mostly he was biophysicist, and he was working outside of university was a group of people who were into water doing different experiments. He also was doing his own experiments. And through him, I went in touch with that group of people who were trying to record signals from the substance, transferred to like a distance, and then apply it to the water, like doing different research experiments and doing applications in real world with real people, with practitioners. So I get involved, start doing like collecting different publications and materials about this topic or related topics, not only water and electromagnetic signals, but also biological objects and electromagnetic signals, that biological objects interact with each other through electromagnetic field, like cells in our body. When they divide, etc., there's like photons going back and forward, and that's how some of the communications happens, not only in the chemical way, but in that way as well. And then how you can affect biological objects with artificially created fields. We'll talk about this also later, like PMF signals, just synthesized signals, how they affect, and there's so much publications about that. And slowly, like project would be trying to find method to study it, or find some people who build some devices to study water, its properties. And slowly, I was start working with practitioners and with researchers, a little bit making my own experiments. And after some time, it was, from project point of view, it was up and downs. And later, like our team a little bit split up. And when I came to Canada, we kind of like restarted the project, bringing like new ideas and improving technology. And here in Canada, me and my wife were technically, I would say, started the project from the beginning, and like doing it since 2017 here, and it's kind of like going much better than it was before.
Can you break down how that process works? You said that you have a sample of some sort. Like, what would those samples be? And then what's the signal that you're then projecting into water or other mediums?
Yeah, so in general, the principle we use the same as, so our work is based on what Jacques Benveniste, this French scientist, discovered, and he was researching. And he called it like digital biology. And the principle is similar to principle when you do make a picture of something. So if you go with a camera in a black room or dark room with no light, you will not be able to capture any information. So you need to have electromagnetic field, light travels to the wall, reflects, and then you capture it. So you have the white light, like flashlight, shines the room, then you capture the information. So it's a similar principle. We have usually a petri dish with diluted substance inside. It can be not a simple substance, can be even a plant.
When you say substance, can you give some examples?
Aspirin, like any drug, simple substances, whatever people use, pharmaceuticals. And we dilute it. Okay, can be even an oil or some extract can be. And we grind it. If it's in that kind of solid state, then we dilute it in the distilled water, use a vortex for all of this, and after that pour it in the petri dish. And in our chamber, we kind of shine in some way the white noise through the sample, dilute it in the water, and on another side, so from one side we shine through the solution, and on another side we're capturing whatever wave is kind of modulated wave after it passes the substance. And then we get the signal, digitize it, process it, and we have it on the platform to use. This is how Imprint ICs, so whole project started from those Imprint ICs. And the best way of using them is to transfer back to water. So that signal applied to water through creating electromagnetic field, applied to water, and then consume that water.
To take a step back, it sounds like the only way this works is if the inputs to the body, whether they're pharmaceuticals, they're supplements, they're foods, at the cellular level, they're communicating via electromagnetism.
Yes, there is a theory of vision, like we completely doesn't know how everything works. It's just like experimentally, first of all, this whole phenomena found experimentally by the Jacques Benveniste, who was doing high dilutions of substances. He was really great scientist, and there's a very good documentary about him. Can be found on YouTube. It's called Memory of Water from 2014. It's about 1 hour documentary about his work. And Luc Montagnier, who is Nobel Prize winner, he also did amazing experiments. And Jacques Benveniste, he was immunologist, just like very traditional immunologist, and studying different ways how to maybe block allergic reactions or those kind of things. So one of the people, his colleague, proposed to dilute substance he was studying many, many times. Not ridiculous, like many times, but let's say, so it's concentration 10 power minus 10. And so it's not, it's kind of still classical science, not ridiculous. And he was skeptical, but he did it. And he found that at some point when you keep diluting the substance, response can disappear at some point. But then if you keep diluting substance, response can come back. And one of his research, he also shown that it's comes and goes. It's like waves. It's not understood completely well why it happens like this. But in general, what he came to what conclusion that because, and then he tried actually to do even higher dilutions when there is no substance present anymore in the water, but it still worked. And he was thinking why it's and how it's possible. And he thought, okay, maybe there is some electromagnetic nature of this phenomenon, because it's well known that every substance in general, what is it? It's some elementary particles with electrons, protons, all the things. And it has own spectrum, electromagnetic spectrum, which depends on how your substance structured, how many energetic levels, all the things. So every substance has unique electromagnetic spectrum. And he thought maybe somehow, in some way, water mimics that spectrum. So you place substance in the water surrounds it, it's kind of affected by that molecule structures in some way. Then you keep diluting your water with that substance, that's slowly removing the substance. So in the end, you kind of have only water with that structured water. He called it like memory of water. There was some people say maybe it's a bad term to call it a memory of water, because people always think about our brain, or memory, hard drive. So it's a little bit worse, but it kind of was catchy, and I think it's brought a lot of attention.
How does that relate to homeopathy?
Yeah, so it's actually, in general, at the basic level, directly relates, because that's what he was trying to do in the beginning. He was studying the high dilutions, and homeopathy in general is about high dilution substances, not always actually very high dilutions. I know there is some homeopathic remedy that there is still substance present, but it's just small concentration. And in general, also because it's all about water, there is no complete explanation why it's working, and why it's not working sometimes. There's also the questions, and its basis fundamentals, it's connected, because it's about water, how water works. So I would say answering those questions, you can answer how homeopathy works and how imprinting water with the signals works. And there is like a theory, a coherent domain theory, how water works. And electrodynamic theory, it's about how light or electromagnetic wave interacts with matter. And the basic mechanism, if you have two particles, just imagine like two molecules or just two simple particles, they oscillate. This oscillate frequency 1, this is frequency 2. If you put them in the electromagnetic field, like surrounding them, which will have just frequency 3, and if condition you meet the condition when all the three frequencies of two particles and electromagnetic field almost the same, then there will be attractive force between these two particles. So they will be kind of coming to each other. And there is coherent quantum electrodynamic theory of coherent domains in water, and it's kind of based on that. So if you put water, because there's also molecules, they are oscillating, if you put it in some electromagnetic field, those different molecules of water will be attracted to each other, forming coherent domains. Also was calculated theoretically, it can consist up to 5 million molecules, each of this domain, and theoretically, stability of the domain, it can hold the same state for like many months, like theoretically. Practically, we have different conditions, temperature, pressure, electromagnetic field, which also affects. It's will be not for many months, and this is the biggest kind of weakness, or in general, about the water and how it can hold the signal. That because it's liquid, it's always like in change, and this coherent domain is not well accepted yet. So people would think, water is just randomly moving molecules. And if something like randomly moves, you cannot store information there. So if you write something on the like sand, and like if it's dry sand, you just write, it's kind of, your writing disappear after a very short period of time. If you like write something in the rock with a hammer, it probably will stay for much longer time. But if it's like water, if you write something in water, it will not remain the shape. So therefore, information cannot be stored. And but this quantum coherent theory kind of says it's possible for water to remain for that state for like longer period of time.
So what have you done with all that science?
So with all this science, we technically, again, based on all these experiments with practitioners or observation with practitioners, initially, like many years ago, built a database of about 50 different signals. It mostly was pharmaceuticals, because idea was they may have the similar effect on the body. So it would be, let's try maybe like substitute or partially substitute pharmaceuticals. So if person using some pharmaceutical, they can try and use like IC, informational copy of that substance. And this is like was initial idea, and that's why we had almost only pharmaceuticals. Practitioners were trying, testing different of them, seeing what works, what kind of method had to be used to apply. And like way before then, when I was working with practitioners, I saw that it works, it helps people. And when our team kind of split up, and we started things from the beginning, we decided to continue in it, and even growing the database, bringing new practitioners who have access to many different substances, teaching them the method, how to build it, and also kind of at the same time using it and studying it, continue studying it, because there's so much things to understand and learn still yet. And so far, like I really had almost zero expectations when we was like restarting the project 4 years ago. And it's really like sometimes waking up and thinking, wow, like it's crazy. Like people, they have the biggest pleasure I get when someone like leaves some feedback or testimonial, how it worked for them. And it's like amazing, because I'll tell you, like when I was just starting working on this, I also was working with scientists, and seeing the result they get, I couldn't believe. And because I also was from the Institute of Physics Mathematics, people like really tough there in terms of like everything. They don't accept many things closed. And I was like, this is like crazy. Like, you don't know how it works. Nobody can explain it. And at some point I even was thinking that we kind of like created this phenomena, that a phenomena like doesn't exist, but if many people kind of thinks that maybe it exists somehow and like become reality,
Yeah.
And there is something about that. There is also a presentation from the water conference of the Rupert Sheldrake. He kind of said that the laws, we have constants in physics and other sciences. Those constants are not constants. Like gravitational constant is not constant. Like things kind of slightly change with time. So it's kind of even maybe that's why I started making me thinking, oh, can the phenomenon be created?
Yeah. I've seen some research that human intention has the ability to influence random number generators.
Oh yeah. We have another project about that, AquaPsy. There is some people who use random number generators. We also would like to include that in our another platform, AquaPsy. At the moment, we use water-based sensors as well to study whether it's possible to affect the water at a distance, like long distance, when you don't see directly the water, but you can maybe see the picture of the water. And it's not easy to do that. And we're going to study how to do it. But if you do it at the local location, for example, the same room you stand in with that sensor, it's relatively, you can get relatively stable results.
Oh, I see. You're talking about your devices.
This is one of those devices called Mind device. Yeah.
Okay. Can you compare and contrast your traditional pharmaceutical versus these ICs?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say, we had one of the experiments where we would compare effect only water as a control, then pharmaceutical, then IC, and then water with IC. There was an experiment done with a group of mice who were irradiated initially with some radiation to reduce their immune system. And then they split into 4 groups. One group was drinking water as a control group. And then, as I mentioned, this second group, pharmaceutical, IC, and mix IC with pharmaceutical. And we found that they were drinking water for 3 days. And after that, they were calculating antibody producing cells in their spleen and other parameters in their body. We found that actually, in that particular case, pharmaceutical and IC had almost the same effect on antibody producing cells inside of the body. And when IC was used together with pharmaceutical, it was almost double the effect. So group number 4 almost double the effect compared to group number 2, group number 3. This is very interesting was. And, as I mentioned, initially we were doing only pharmaceuticals, informational copies of them. And we would never anyways tell people to stop use pharmaceuticals because it's not at that level yet to do that. But what people could do, and some people were doing, they would add IC as additional method, and they would slowly reduce after consultation with practitioner, maybe some blood work, they would reduce the amount of pharmaceuticals they use.
What I really like about this is that these ICs are almost like bioregulators, meaning that unlike pharmaceuticals, which bluntly forced certain systems to activate and certain systems to deactivate, these ICs are more like peptides in the sense that they suggest the body to do things, but they don't override because it's an imprint in water rather than a substance that you're ingesting and is forcing that molecular reaction.
Yes, very well said, actually. You put it. Yeah, we also see it as a suggestion, actually, because also from our experience, there was no side effects or negative effects for people. In few cases, I remember there was reporting that person, if they had acute pain and they start using AC, that pain may increase for 2 or 3 days, but then it's kind of go lower than it was before. The practitioner says maybe it's because body activate their healing mechanism and it starts the healing process. That's why it happens. But in general, there is no negative effect and no side effect. And at some point, we decided why not to put huge complexes of all those 50 ICs in one complex and let body decide, because people don't know sometimes what is the reasons of their problem. So throw it to the body, all 50 signals, and body can decide what they need. And it worked for some people, but for some people didn't work. Maybe because it was too many signal and body cannot, read all that information. That's why we have now a suggestion to keep up to 6 ICs in one complex when people build complexes of different ICs inside, transfer to water and then drink. Yeah, by the way, you also mentioned about this, how IC may affect on the body. There's also one theory and hypothesis how it's work. Before we discussed that when we record signal from substance applied to water, so we kind of have this electromagnetic environment around the water molecules. They form those coherent domains, which in general, in some, mimic the signal, original signal from substance. In some way, we're creating electronic key, because every substance can in some way considered as a key. And there's this theory that in order for molecule to affect the receptor, they should match the shape. And I think the theory and this way of thinking almost 150 years. So 150 years ago, somebody suggested this. I remember the name, Fisher, I think his name was, suggested the theory how molecules interact with the body. This should match. And another person, more recently, it's really cool research. He found that it's not important what a shape molecule has, but electromagnetic spectrum. With those smell experiments. His name is Luca Turin. Also, his presentation can be found on YouTube on one of the TED presentations. Yeah, it's very interesting. So he said that it's important what electromagnetic spectrum molecule has. So that means that it's not traditional key lock. Maybe for some molecules and the receptors, it's still the case that it should mechanically match as all-day keys when you have to put it inside and turn the key to open the lock. But also it seems there is mechanism, electronic lock and key principle in our body. At least it's work with those receptors we have in our nose. You have molecule, and the receptor sends the electromagnetic spectrum of that molecule, and then the reaction happens. So if we can substitute that molecule with some carrier which emits or have the same spectrum, so we kind of trick body in that way, or we just kind of sending the message to body to cause the same reaction, to open that door inside of the body. It's also if comparing substance with ICs, a big difference about stability, and ICs less stable, and I think that's also contributes to less negative effects. To no negative effects when you have IC, because again, yes, mentioned that water can store the signals, but this question now for how long it can store signals inside of the body, because there is different substances and interacts and environments. So it's a question for how long, probably not very long. And that's why we recommend when you drink water to hold it in your mouth for at least 10 seconds and drink water on empty stomach, because in this way it gets digested, absorbed in intestine much faster than if you drink water on the full stomach.
Yeah, and I want to talk more about ways to get more out of this technology. But before we do, on the same topic of the pharmaceuticals versus ICs, what does the chemistry of it look like in comparison? Is the half-life of how long the IC stays in your body roughly the same? What is the dose, the magnitude of the dose? So if I take the coffee imprint, it doesn't, I've taken it multiple times and I like it, but it doesn't feel the same as a full cup of 110 milligrams of caffeine, for example.
Yeah. So in terms of how long it stays in the body, we don't know. I think I would say it's minutes, but I'm not sure. That's why we ask people or tell people to drink water more often. So little those doses on the information you supply. Maybe it even gets destroyed after you kind of put in your mouth. Maybe just have a few seconds. We're not sure. But yeah, what we noticed, if you drink it more often, we recommend at least 3 times a day, you don't need to drink a lot. 2 ounces or 50 milliliters is good for each time. And then about dosage also, we're not sure how to calculate it in compared to substances. Again, if you drink it more often, and also if you imprint it for a longer period of time, you may have better effect, like stronger effect. We're not sure yet when it's like goes to the plateau. And after people trying to imprint for 1.5 hours, and there also was research from other people that were imprinting for 1.5 hours, and it seems this is a maximum amount, and after that water not increasing its effectiveness. But some people do not need even that much. Normally 2 minutes of the transfer is fine, but if you would like to try strong effect, you can imprint it for a longer period of time. Effect should be stronger.
Okay, so far we've talked almost exclusively about imprinting water, but on infopathy.com, on your website, there are other types as well. Imprints are just one of the ICs you offer. What else is there?
Yeah, there is signals called PMF. So after we was working with imprints, it's kind of came to our attention in some way that PMFs are really good thing and more traditional. There is less questions how it works.
Can you explain the background of PEMF for my audience?
Yeah, PMF, it's pulse electromagnetic fields. So usually generated by some devices, and it's basically a square waves. So some waves are sinus, and those one are square waves. So it gives like a pulses of energy in some way, and depending on what frequency you use, effect can be different. And how it interacts with your body, how electromagnetic field interacts with your body. So electromagnetic field can interact with pretty much any charged particles like ions, electrons, or other things. And depending on frequency of the electromagnetic field, you would have like it will interact with different maybe tissue or different process in the body. Yeah, and so after we learned about those things, we see that our technology is in general suitable, like database and transferring signal, whole device, also suitable for those type of signals, and those just difference from previous ones, that they are generated based on different algorithms. For example, one of the like libraries we use is called Rife library. He is like many years ago. He was studying also how electromagnetic field can affect like microorganisms, even kill microorganisms, because how it works, when you walk on the bridge at specific frequency, you can damage the bridge. If many people walk, on the bridge in the resonance, in like synchronously at the same pace, and that frequency matches with the own frequency of the bridge, that you kind of keep supplying, that you kind of boosting the bridge, is getting more and more energy, and at some point it just breaks.
Even more common of an example is when you're in an opera and the singer hits a certain note, and that note shatters a glass.
Yeah.
And for those curious and want to do more research, this researcher, his name is Dr. Royal Raymond Rife, I think.
Yeah. There's movies about him, many articles. Yeah, and he was studying technically with a microscope and trying different frequencies. Microscope, he would put microorganisms, maybe bacteria or even virus, and he would be applying different frequencies, see what happens to that virus under those frequencies. So at one frequency does nothing because there's no resonance happening, but at some frequencies, maybe it will destroy the cell or do something. Yeah, there's even like videos you can like find when some frequency applied, and it's not necessarily high frequency. It's usually low frequencies. His like database, it's up to, there's high frequencies as well, but usually like about up to 10,000 hertz. Those things, and it's not necessarily like crazy intensity. It's about the frequency. If you match with frequency, and you just need to wait a little bit time to kind of bring that energy into the cell to like break it. Mm-hmm. And there's like videos of the microscope, people using it, and you can see that those cells just fall apart.
Yeah. And so why would you choose PEMF over an Imprint?
So I think they have different applications, and I would, from my point, how I see it, PMF are more like for the tissue. If maybe you have some pain, or for the muscles, they're more studied for actually like skeleton system and the muscle system. Like if you have some broken bone, it can increase the rate your bone get back to more normal. If you maybe exercise, you want to relax muscle, you can apply PMF as well. It works. There's also so many like devices already on the market, whole even PMF mats where you're just laying down on whole mat and whole your body is affected by electromagnetic field.
And with PEMF, do you want to do it like when you apply it, is it systemic or is it localized? Like, can I put it on my chest and get effects in my whole body? Or when I wear it on my wrist, is it only affecting my wrist?
We see that it's not affecting only that area, but if it's like PMF for kidney, it would be better to put it like in that area. Yeah. But some PMFs would be more general, like adrenal fatigue or something like this. You would just put it on the chest or on your stomach.
But you wouldn't have a PMF for something like coffee?
PMF for coffee, no. I mean, like, yeah, to be, yeah, no.
And then there's one other category.
Yeah, another category is audibles. And those ones, so for previous ones, you kind of need a device to use them, which will emit those electromagnetic waves. And for audibles, it's like sound waves. One of the like algorithms, how the build is binaural beats. Mm-hmm. So when you have to use stereo headphones or stereo speakers, because that stereo effect is very important. There's two different frequencies going at the same time in different headphones. And so when you listen to those frequencies, and so you have, for example, 100 hertz in one ear and 95 hertz in another ear. In your head, you will have this effect, sounds like beats at 5 hertz. So 100 minus 95, you will hear it at 5 hertz. And if you have those different settings, you can kind of match it with your brain waves or shift your brain waves. So this is a theory how it's supposed to, what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to shift your brain into different states, because at different states, your brain do different things like resting or thinking or meditating or sleeping. So this would be like approach to change the things, shift your brain to this stuff.
How do you go about choosing which one to use for audible tones? Because there's what, like 5 different categories of brainwaves?
Depends what would you like. For example, if you go to the brainwave and you would like to use something for sleeping, so if I just search brain waves, I will see brain alpha, delta, sleep. Actually, I recommend that one if you don't go halfway to fall asleep or you're waking up at night. You can listen for that one. And for me personally, it's kind of makes my head feel some kind of heaviness in some way, and with my thoughts a little bit going away.
Yeah.
So I think it's very interesting, and I recommend the brain delta.
For the brain delta sleep, like there's a delta is a spectrum, like from the high end to the low end in terms of frequencies.
Yeah.
Like, what goes into this? Oh, I guess it says.
Yeah, it has actually like its range. So it's 40 minutes program, and let me see, every 5 minutes, it's a little bit shifts. It shifts the frequency, so starting from 4 and going to 0.5 hertz. So it's kind of slowing down the frequency over the 40 minutes period.
And a lot of these, the PEMFs and the audibles, some of them are very long. Like I've seen some that are 40 plus minutes. Mm-hmm. But then if you want to get the benefits, can you listen to a portion of it, or are they designed to be listened to from start to finish?
So they are designed from the beginning to the end, whole thing. But with, like, for example, audibles, the brain waves, it's not necessary. Maybe you will have effect earlier, because again, it shifts from, for example, 6 hertz, the difference between ears, to 0.5 hertz. Maybe you don't need to go so low in the frequency. Maybe you will have effect earlier, like that. But for PMF, yeah, it's recommended that you use a whole program.
Okay. Now let's get to the Infopathy products. You guys sell a number of different transfer devices so that people can get the best of the 3 technologies: imprinting, PEMFs, and the audible tones. Can you walk us through what you call the glowing Icy Pad and the Icy Hummer? And for those watching, I have both of them in front of me, not plugged in, so you can't see the cool glowing blue light. This is the glowing Icy Pad. So can you explain what this one does?
Yeah, so this device, so once you plug it to your audio output with audio cable, so it takes signal and it has also amplifiers, amplifies the signal and emit electromagnetic wave. And besides that, it also uses that signal to modulate the blue light. So you have kind of 2 things: just signal emitted by the coil. Inside there's a coil, electromagnetic, which emits the signal, and the blue lights, which emit modulated light. So when those things interact with water, interaction with the signal happens with the water, and the imprinting is happening. In this device, we also embedded some herbs of tea, rose buds, and oregano. So whenever we transfer any signals, those waves going through the substances, these herbs, and also get imprinted in the water.
Why those herbs?
So we choose it from both 2 reasons. First of all, that they include many different minerals and good things, but also like rose, it looks good. So we decided to use it for that reason as well.
It does look good.
Then we have simple Icy Pad. It has the coil, so technically you supply the signal, it emits the electromagnetic wave. And the Icy Hammer, so both of these devices are quiet. When you transfer any wave, it's quiet. You can use it for imprint and PMF. So you can imprint water, or you can apply a signal directly to your body. The another device called Icy Hammer, in its essence, it's a vibrational speaker. It's wearable. You can apply it to a different part of the body. It has 3 different belts, big, medium, and small. So you can put it around your chest, around your leg, hand, wrist, or even a small tincture of the bottle. So you can also use it to transfer signals to the water, or apply signals directly to your body. Imprint transfer to the water, and PMFs apply directly to the body. And because it's in essence a vibrational speaker, it's also make a sound during the transfer. So if you really kind of like quietness and don't like noise, then you would prefer the glowing Icy Pad. If you're okay with sound, to have a sound, you can select this device.
Yeah, and I personally use the Icy Hummer most because I'm okay with sound, and it does all 3 of the modes we discussed a minute ago, plus it's very portable for travel. And then once they get the device, they have the device, then they go onto your website, and there's a huge library of different ICs and complexes. At the time of this recording, there's about 1,700 different options. How do you go about choosing one from that huge library?
Yeah, so you need to understand what you need. If you use if you know the reasons of your problems, underlying reasons, you can search for them, or you know what diagnosis you can search, because every IC has a description. And then you can, after search, see maybe top 3, top 5 ICs, read descriptions, what matches you the best. If you're not sure what ICs you'd like to include or to use, you can make a complex also with different imprint ICs. In this way, you will be able to transfer those few ICs at the same time to the same volume of water. And also you can pay attention to what has more transfers. On each card you have this blue, like a pulse icon with number of transfers, some of them maybe also new.
So that's how many people have used that exact transfer?
It's how many it's like transfers or,
total transfers.
Similar, yeah, like on YouTube, how many views this thing has. Yeah, how many transfers totally this specific IC has.
So to give a little overview of what you see in the library, you have a bunch of different options, filters on the left-hand side, left bar. You can filter by the type of being it's applied to, so humans, animals, or plants. You can filter by the type of source, such as allopathy, herbs and medicine, or herbs and botanicals, vitamins, minerals, homeopathy, probiotics, et cetera, et cetera. You can filter by which system of the body it impacts. And lastly, you can filter by the technology, whether it's PEMF, Imprint, or Audible. And there's all kinds of things in this library. Like, I caught my eye when I logged in and noticed that the very first one was growth hormone. And there's hormones, there's pharmaceuticals, caffeine. I tried Xanax one time to see how it worked, and I didn't notice anything immediately. I used the glowing Icy pad, and about 30 minutes later, I was writing. All of a sudden, I started feeling a little more tired, more relaxed, and I just assumed it was because it was evening and the day was winding down. And then the effect grew a little bit stronger, and it made me wonder what it was. I completely forgot that I even had the water to begin with. My girlfriend commented on it, and I was all of a sudden wondering if that could possibly be what I thought it was. And then over the next couple of weeks, we continued to try different ones, and she made it a randomized, controlled, N equals 1 trial where she would sometimes apply the ICs and sometimes not, and see if I could guess whether or not she'd applied it. And I was about 70% accurate. So the effects, they're not like taking the actual substance in my experience. They might be for some people, but they have a definite slight effect. How do you use Infopathy?
I usually just use one complex. Yeah, so far it doesn't have many health problems. So just use one complex, also related to anxiety. It's a stress relief combination. And if I was starting using when I was kind of constant feeling that thing, and I found it was really helping me, and I was like, wow, this is like I found something for myself as well. I was happy, and I'm still using it. I prepare a bottle of water for every day, and I just drink that water during the day.
Are there any crazy new ICs or complexes coming down the pike, or that you've recently released?
There is one in this kind of new thing in general, and new type, I would say. Some people call it Lucy, like LSD, right? Yeah, so this is like interesting. Some people kind of commented they felt something right away, but we want to see really whether ICs from those type of substances are possible. I mean, we had IC of cannabis for like a long time, almost from the beginning, like 3 years. Also, there was positive effects from people, but from this kind of heavy substances, we want to see what kind of effect would be.
It looks like it has only 187 transfers as of today, so must be pretty new.
Yeah, also one of the new things is those like stem cells. I guess you saw as well. People also, if they want to see what people transfer now, like trending ICs, they can go on the main catalog and then click sort by. Also, first of all, you can click sort by transfers to see what's the most transferred IC, and the growth hormone is the most used. And what's trending right now, means what was transferred the most in the last 7 days. And it's a whole body and spine chiropractor, PMF. In general, there's also I heard lots of positive things about this PMF. Trauma which people use. Kind of a lot of athletes use this thing, and they would always have some trauma.
That was the first PEMF I tried as well. How do you go about vetting the developers of these ICs? Because you can imagine if there's Lucy there and you get the wrong person creating an IC or a complex, isn't there potential for harm?
Yeah, for the worst scenario, it would be no effect, how I see it at all, how we talked also, there is no side effects or negative effects. And some kind of analogy would be, it's easy to harm someone with a physical object, let's say with a knife or something, but it's hard to convince someone to jump from the bridge. So we see that IC in some way it's like informational for body, as you also said, well, there's a kind of suggestions for the body. So like to suggest body to harm itself, it's like difficult, maybe it's possible to do, but difficult. Yeah, we had experiments with penicillin just in vitro with yeasts, IC of penicillin. So it's supposed to kill yeasts. But when you use in vitro, in just petri dish yeasts, it actually makes them more active. So they will produce more carbon dioxide. So we think also, there are some ICs which are supposed to kill bacteria inside of you, etc. And maybe there is like different ways how to do it, the experiment and studies. But I think what is the mechanisms of killing some bacteria inside of you. So it's not IC killing that thing, but it helps your body to maybe get rid of it or something like this.
It sounds like the worst case scenario then wouldn't be that it would harm you, but maybe that it says it's one thing like energy, and maybe the developer made a mistake, it captured the wrong frequencies and accidentally got something that will make you more sleepy.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, like we don't give this technology just for everyone. We work with practitioners who we know for a long time, we trust them, and then they also test their ICs with their patients. On the website, we have this function. When we add ICs, some of them go into the research process. They're not available for the people right away, but they're only available for practitioners. And developers whom we have on the website, they are practitioners who have their clients to work with and try with the things. And also one of the last steps before uploading, they send us signals, we process them to see if technically everything's fine, then we upload the data.
I see. So by the time that I have access to it, it's already been vetted.
Yeah.
Okay. And so for people who are skeptical, maybe they get a device and they want to see if it works. They don't feel crazy out of this world effects, but they want to know if it's doing something. And maybe it's having like a 30 milligram, 40 milligram of caffeine type of effect. Do you have any experiments or things they can do to verify it?
Yeah, in general, what people can do, so with people, it's always tricky, your mind is involved. So you have to do some physical experiments with the physical devices. And, I mentioned you someday before, we use the electroimpedance spectrometer to do those measurements, and you can see clearly that water changes under the influence of signals. But it's you have to have specific settings, and not everyone can do. But what's easy would be to do with biological systems, just get a little bit of seeds, like wheat seeds, and kind of make a sprouts. So prepare two waters, control and test groups. One water is just regular water, and another group is the same water but imprinted, and then soak seeds in that water. Maybe it will take a week or so and then calculate of all those seeds the lengths of their sprouts, then calculate the mean value between those groups and compare.
And is there a IC or complex you recommend, like Miracle Grow or something?
Yeah, it's called Plant Boost IC. You can try. Some people also were reporting they were using it for their plants. And some people also will be sending us pictures about They were growing the mushrooms, also control test, watering different things because the mushroom also grow very fast. Yeah, there was pretty like obvious difference.
Cool experiment to try. Pretty easy to do at home. So now, let's go through the entire process. I receive, say, the Icy Hummer in the mail today. I sit down. I'm all excited. Now, what do I do? What do I do between arrival and drinking the imprinted water?
Yeah, so you go to website, create account if you don't have yet. Then right after you create the account, you can access free ICs. If you go to the catalog on the left filter menu, you will see free ICs. We have almost 100 free ICs you can try. Some of them also can be just tried with headphones, and other ones you can use without getting premium membership. But if you'd like to access all of them, you can get a premium membership, which comes with free 30 days. And you can use them right away. Then in the search menu, type what you would like to use. Then prepare your water. You can use like any type of container. It can be plastic or glass. We recommend glass because there's also another theory of exclusions on water. It's important to have glass because it's more hydrophilic. Your water will have more of that easy water inside. And then after you selected the IC, you need to shake your water for at least 10 seconds. That's why you need to kind of use a bottle with a lid, not just a glass. For at least 10 seconds, you really energetically shake it. Then you can put your Icy Hummer around the bottle. If you use Icy Pad, put it underneath. And start transfer. For Imprint ICs, for Icy Hummer, it will take 4 minutes to transfer their ICs. For Glow and Icy Pad takes 2 minutes because it makes a bit stronger field creates. And after it's done, you can start drinking this water. We suggest drinking the same ICO complex at least 3 times a day and at least 50 milliliters or 2 ounce. Keep your water away from all these electronic devices and electric devices because they make so much field around them. Also, better to keep it from direct sunlight. Keep it the room temperature. You can also put it in the fridge if you like, but not the freezer. So it can be cold. It cannot be hot. I think up to 86 Fahrenheit, up to 30 Celsius. But kind of the colder the better. What also feels comfortable for you. It shouldn't be very cold if you don't feel comfortable drinking cold water. In terms of water, also, if you're into distilled or filtered water, you can use it, but you need to drink it right away because distilled water seems not to hold this information for a long time. So we suggest to drink it right away after the imprinting. If you use regular mineral or natural water, you need to drink it within 3 days. You can finish half of the bottle, then add new water, and shake it for at least 10 seconds. Then you can drink another half of the bottle and do the same process for 3 days. After 3 days, re-imprint new water from the beginning.
You mentioned earlier that you can add the Icy Hummer to your tinctures and other solutions and get the effects of the imprint imprinted into the tincture. What other liquids can you imprint into?
Yep. The basic recommendation would be to stick with just water because most people used it and most research done with it. People try and experimenting with other drinks like dairy products, milk, or juices, and alcohol beverages. Actually, alcohol should be fine. Also, one of the research of Jacques Benveniste, he was doing this imprinting for the alcohol solutions with about up to 50% alcohol volume. It was okay, not more than that. So it's kind of below the 40 degrees, should be okay. And people sometimes add extra minerals or add do some kind of procession for the water, make it more alkaline, which is also okay. We recommend to do all the things before the imprinting. So once you imprint, don't do any, try not to do any manipulations with water, and just drink it. So imprinting, because it's kind of like a gentle process, should be done in the last step.
Yeah, and I use an AquaTrue reverse osmosis system, and because it pulls out everything out of the water, I always make sure to remineralize first with some trace minerals. And I think that it can't hurt any water, and especially if you're doing like any advanced filtering, you want to add it back.
Yeah, I think it's like debatable about like distilled water, not distilled water, because there are people who use like both things. I think it's naturally that we use mineral water because usually we don't have distilled water in the nature. And I think there was even like a report from WHO about not using distilled water. But again, like because some people use it, it's like makes everything questionable.
Yeah.
Like once you have some practical experience, it's like, how come it works?
Why is it best to use it 3 times per day?
So we need to, like, again, supply your body with information from time to time, at least 3 times a day. The more often, the better. And it's also like practically was found for people because effects kind of builds up with the time. And for some people just right after drinking water pain can disappear or something like this happens. For some people, effects builds up. It also depends. Everybody unique. Depends how much time people was carrying that issue. Maybe something chronic or something. Yeah.
Do you suggest 3 times per day after the initial few days as well?
So if some people asking, so should I kind of keep drinking this water like for the rest of my life for 3 days? For now, recommendation, when you achieved some stable results, so you did it like 3 times a day and you see positive effect, and then you can try to reduce it to 2 times a day and even 1 time a day. See if it effects for you remains. If not, you can go back for 3 times and use it for longer. And then again, try to go for 1 time a day and you see, I still have the good results. So you kind of can slowly reduce number of units that I see per day.
In one of our previous conversations, I asked you if there were any other things I could do to get even more pronounced effects out of Infopathy. You mentioned infrared light and magnetic fields and can stack with other things. Can you go into that?
Yeah. So also from that theory of easy water, the gel-like water, which builds up usually around the surface where water contacts the bottle, for example. They found that if you use shaking, this is increase the easy magnetic field, infrared light, and then infrared light, magnetic field, shaking. Those things increase the easy layer, and from one of the theories, easy layer is responsible for storing those signals because it's more like gel-like, and because it's more solid than just liquid, then there is some opportunity that maybe somehow their whole IC are stored. And also adding minerals also increase the easy layer.
Where can those that are interested pick up an Infopathy transfer device and access the entire library?
Everything is website infopathy.com. There's all information, help articles, different methods about different devices, the store. There also people can ask questions in any page of any IC, like a comment, or send us email at support@infopathy.com.
Are you guys active on any of the social media platforms?
Yeah, we have an Instagram a little bit, and on Facebook recently we made a community, people joining, also sharing their experience, giving each other suggestions what to use with what based on their experience. It's also in Facebook, if you search Infopathy community, you should be able to find that.
And Anton has also worked out a special deal for my listeners. If you use the code URBAN10, you get 10% off site-wide. And you can use that, get your transfer device, set it up, and try one of the free transfers, the free ICs and complexes. And then if you're ready to do the experiment or test out some of the more advanced things, you can do the free 30-day trial of the premium membership. And after that, I think it's only a little less than $10 a month, so not crazy expensive. But the links to all this will be in the show notes. So if you want to connect, explore, I also wrote a review post about this 4 or 5 months ago. That'll be there as well. Okay, Anton, are you ready for one last question before we go into the rapid fire round?
Yeah.
All right. Imagine that all knowledge on Earth is gone. Say there was a burning of the books, and you get to save the works of 3 teachers. Who would you choose and why?
I'll start from the basics, so people just maybe simple. But first I need to remember how to speak, so I'll keep the ABC. So, so we kind of catch up very fast on our communications. Then I would save the work of, I learned about this guy from National Geographic. I think he was like Russian scientist. He, like now we have food, or at least most countries have food, but before there was problems. Sometimes you don't have food, so people would just starve, and it actually was a big problem in my country, like about 90 years ago, when almost 2 to 10 million people died because of no enough food. And this person, Nikolai Cherenko, he, if I remember correctly, his name, he was studying the plants, how to make plants more survivable in different conditions. He built collection of 250,000 different seeds, and I think somewhere just so stored. So he kind of brought a lot of knowledge how to, into agricultural things, so people would have lots of food and we don't have that problem. So I think it would be also important when we kind of reset our world to the beginning, so we can solve that issue, so we can speak, we can
As a quick side note, I'm really impressed by the way that the Russians have meticulously cataloged all of plants and herbs and adaptogens and embrace organics and biodynamic farming. It's not something you hear about all that often, or at least we don't hear about that over here all that often. So it's impressive.
Yeah. The last one, it's also a book. I think it's maybe 1 or 2 pages only long. It's called The Egg. I'm not sure if you heard about it. It's the author of this book. He wrote also Martian. It's very famous. Yeah. So he has this story called The Egg. And when I read it, since then, almost every day thinking about it. So it's...
Wow. And it's 1 or 2 pages.
It's all about 2 pages. It's about a story, how the person died, and then they met the god, and he asking, so what happened next? And the idea that he sent him back to the earth in a new way, new body, but it's kind of he sent him back in time, and he asking, how come I'm going back in time? And says there is no time, because you just through different lives you go through different experience. So one life you're this person, another life you're this person. So in some way, to apply it to our conversation, so I am, it's you, in different on my different life. And I think this is simple story. I need to read details. You need to read the actual story to get details and get kind of deep into it. But it's kind of gives you this persistence of the world. So what if actually it's true? And then what if that person, it's me also? So then you kind of will never do any harm to that person.
Makes you more compassionate.
Yeah. So I think this also kind of ideas in the beginning, if we reset and we start thinking from that point of view, maybe everything will be more peaceful.
I like it. All right, let's go on to the rapid fire round now. You ready?
All right. Yes.
What's something else that you're interested in and researching these days?
I'm interested in the consciousness, very interested in the lucid dreaming. and understanding what's going on there, if it can, so maybe a different world, or maybe just our mind games inside. But in general, yeah, it's very interesting for me. Also, like, interested in the human potential, that a lot of things you can, like, you don't know, like many things you don't need. I hope in future, we will know more about what human capable for. Now we've developed a lot of technologies, technical electronics, but maybe not too much focus right now, or at least in the media, about the human capabilities. So I hope there'll be more developing, like what actually people can do, including lucid dreaming.
On one hand, we really understand the intricacies of the human body, the human machine, if you will. But on the other, there's still so much uncharted territory. It feels like we know nothing.
Yeah, exactly. The more we know, it seems more we don't know.
Yeah. What's something that your tribe doesn't know about you?
So I think maybe they don't know that also at the same time I'm starting this or being involved in this project about 10 years ago, also I was doing a project with collecting plastic waste. So I was in the city of my university. It's about 100,000 people live there. I and some of my friends would try to build the system to collect, because we don't have separate collection system in Russia, at least that time. So we would build our containers and put them around the city to collect plastic bottles from people, then press them and send for recycling. So it was like a big part of my life.
I wouldn't have guessed.
I spent lots of time on the landfills and going around the garbage bins.
Well, to bring everything back home, do you have any final thoughts for everyone that's made it this far into the episode?
Yeah, thank you very much for making it that far. And like if you're just curious to try, I would suggest to go on Infopathy. There's some ICs called audibles that you can just try with your headphones. You can try binaural beats and see how they work for you. There's some of them available without any premium membership. And if you want to try them all, you can get premium membership. They'll have free trial and try all the audibles with just your headphones.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. Anton, thanks for your time tonight, for sharing this new science with us that has roots from a couple hundred years ago, but you're modernizing it and bringing it into the 21st century. Yeah,
that's pretty much our a mission and what we do. We, I would say, don't even create these things. We just try to bring it more accessible and use other people's experience, and plus, using these experiences and everything improve what people achieved so far.
And if you go onto the Infopathy website, you can click around, you can see the different publications, get more information, dig into the science yourself, because there's a lot there and it just takes some curiosity on your part.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Nick Urban here with Anton Fedorenko, signing out from mindbodypeak.com. Have a great week. I hope that this has been helpful for you. If you enjoyed it, subscribe and hit the thumbs up. I love knowing who's in the 1% committed to reaching their full potential. Comment 1% below so that I know who you are. For all the resources and links, meet me on my website at mindbodypeak.com. I appreciate you and look forward to connecting with you. As a reminder, the information depicted in this video is for information purposes only. Please consult your primary healthcare professional before making any lifestyle changes.